All right, we are live. A good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire, and this is the daily forecast for Wednesday, July 31st, 2024. A very good morning to everyone. It is the day of Mercury, which makes it the day of communication. We have a waning crescent moon. We are in the midst of Leo season, the Celtic tree month of Holly, salmon season, Saturn retrograde, Neptune retrograde, Pluto retrograde, and Chiron retrograde. Now, the details for this are the Sun in Leo is fixed fire, which represents achievement. The Moon is fourth quarter Gemini mutable air, which represents being witty. Then at 4:46 p.m., the Moon will go void, of course, and at 10:19 p.m. Central Time, it goes to fourth quarter Cancer, a cardinal water sign, which represents warmth. Mercury is in Virgo, mutable earth, which represents efficiency. Venus is in Leo, fixed fire, which means to be ardent. Mars is in Gemini, mutable air, which is to be pugnacious. Jupiter is in Gemini, mutable air, which represents questing. Saturn is retrograding in Pisces, mutable water, which means to redefine dreams. Uranus is in Taurus, fixed earth, which represents renovation. Neptune is retrograding in Pisces, mutable water, which is about spiritual awakening. And Pluto is retrograding Aquarius, a fixed air sign, which means to examine intentions. And we are hearing from Arizona Raven. She says, Grand Rising, there's a star at 9 o'clock position of moon. That's not in my app. It's very close. A lot of powerful beings up there right now. Yeah, we've had some pretty significant movements in the heavens lately. But that's why we study, just to be aware of what the energy is, how it's impacting us, and so we can plan accordingly. Know what days to have a metaphorical umbrella with us. So let's get into the details of the various retrogrades. For Saturn, it's all about re-examining goals, reconsidering commitments, and reclaiming your authority. For the Neptune retrograde, think more in the line of reimagining your dreams, reclaiming a sense of mystery and wonder, reclaiming your faith and your magic. And for Pluto retrograde, it's reclaim the ability to regenerate, reconsider what deserves your energy, release attachments that do not serve. And for Chiron retrograde, it's all about restoring the heroic spirit. Now, the moon phase is the waning crescent. The keywords for this are meditation and balance. For the Cancer moon that we go into much later tonight, the do's are work from home, nurture freely, cherish your friends. The don'ts are publicity, objectivity, and emotional indulgences. So hopefully by the time the moon actually moves into Cancer, you're not awake. I mean, depending on your time zone, again, of course. Hopefully you are relaxing and you are doing other things. But I would definitely say that if you're planning to be on social media late this evening once the moon goes into Cancer, perhaps reconsider that until another occasion, just because the Cancer moon, it doesn't want to be too out there. It doesn't want to be too public. It doesn't want to be too seen. It's a much more secret. I don't want to say secretive, and that shy isn't exactly the right word, but it's more so it's private. It wants things to be a bit more private. And privacy in this day and age when everything is just so unrelentingly public, privacy really is almost an act of making something sacred, whether it's your own quiet time, whether it's spending time with your family, or whatever else it is that you do. Keeping it away from the rest of the world. It is about saying, this is just for me. This is only meaningful for me. The rest of the world doesn't get a piece of it. So that's a train of thought that I might have to elaborate on in a future video. But moving right along. We have Mercury in Virgo, and that is all about getting things done, get to the destination, make the doohickey work, communicate succinctly. And this is very good news for hearth keepers and home buddies who can channel that energy into getting the house in order, especially once the moon goes into Cancer, because it's like, look at my marvelous to-do list. I'm going to get so many things done. And as tomorrow is Lunasa, I mean, what lovely timing. I'm sure most of us are stupid thing that glitches. Anyways, as I was saying, I'm sure that most of us are doing our big preparations for Lunasa today and making sure that's all taken care of. That way we can just enjoy ourselves as much as possible on the day itself. Now for our tarot, we pulled the Knight of Wands. His keywords are departure, absence, flight, immigration, brooding and fiery young man, friendliness, change of residence. And for wands, think fire element, masculine energy, projective drive, and young vigorous man. Now, if you look at the horse in the picture, that horse is getting out of Dodge in a hurry. They are moving, they are getting out of the way. And then if you look in the background, you'll notice there are the three big pyramids at Giza. Now, isn't that interesting? What this is speaking to me is less about necessarily physical changes of where you're living or where you're working or where you're going to spend the day. It's less about that, and it's more about a journey of the mind. The one thing about Egypt is that it has so much of the foundation for the Western magical tradition within its own traditions. We take a lot of that from that, and a lot of it has evolved from that. And so by the horse being in motion and by passing by the pyramids, perhaps journeying on a road to them, that's telling me that we're trying to get back to our origins. We're trying to have a better understanding of how the universe is actually functioning. So I see this more so in line with the Neptune retrograde, which is about the reawakening of spirituality. That's just food for thought. That's just my take. Let me know what you guys think of that. Let's see. And good morning to Olympic grade lurker. Very glad to have you here. Thank you. Thank you. Our Celtic triad today reads 3 things which cause one loss of invitations: eating too much, speaking too much, asking too much. These behaviors all exemplify rudeness, and naturally, no one really wants to have rude people cluttering up their house or their social circle. And each of these powers is within the power of the individual to really self-correct. It is a choice to be boorish and unpleasant. It isn't that we don't have ideas on how what a better way to behave really is. We do. It's just whether or not people take the time and trouble. See. Oh, and hello to Peter of Barbaria. But the horse is rearing for fight, not flight. I agree. That is one way to interpret that, and especially given the great issues with people who have transplanted themselves into not their country of origin and not adapting to the culture, that is causing a lot of controversy and not without reason, even physical violence in some cases, like what we're watching in the UK. So I can certainly see, depending upon where you are in the world, that would be absolutely the way that card would be hitting you. That makes sense to me. All right. Next up, our magical intentions for the day are focused on imagination. For this, the color is yellow, the plant is jasmine, the animal is the hare, and the crystal is citrine. Now, imagination has an appetite, and it has to be fed in order to serve you well. Being curious, learning about new things is one of its chief foods. And if you were feeling more of the curiosity and trying to understand how things all fit together, that we kind of saw with the tarot card, if you weren't leaning in the direction that Peter of Barbaria was, then you might also be feeling this more so in the context of spiritual exploration, figuring out how things are, and using your curiosity as a guide for your spiritual development. If we are genuinely curious about something, we are much more likely to study it in depth, and to go out of our way to come to as good of an understanding of the concept as what we possibly can. Whereas studying about something out of a sense of duty, you might absorb the information, but it's not going to stick with you in the same way. It's not going to shape your worldview in quite the same way. Now, for today's practice, it's Wednesday, and that makes it an excellent day to honor a wisdom deity. And then, one last note on all the chakras is, what is your takeaway from all the chakra work that we've been encouraged to do over the past couple of months? And what will you do next? Are you going to move on to other projects? Are you going to continue to work on yourself? What is it are you feeling called to do? And then the next question is, how will you further your astrological understanding? We've been examining our natal charts in relationship to the planets of the day of the week for quite a while now. But that doesn't even scrape the surface. Are you going to be studying the ages of the great year? Are you going to be looking at perhaps some of the asteroids, comets, dwarf planets that are now starting to get astrological recognition, and people are studying the impact of their energies? Are you going that direction? Are you doing something else? Or if you decided that, you know what, your brain is a bit full right now, and you're going to take a break from astrology and do something else for a little bit, what direction are you going? Then, because it's Wednesday, also do some divination. And particularly if you have concerns about just the world at large. And if you do that, I would like to encourage you to try to approach your divination, whatever method you're using, in as neutral a state as what you can possibly be. You don't want to get a bad reading because you're consumed with your hopes or you're consumed by your fears. You're needing to understand about what is actually in the air and where it's most likely leading to if it carries on in its present course. Just having your hopes reflected back to you or your fears reflected back to you, that doesn't tell you very much. So again, just meditate ahead of time, maybe burn some dragon's blood incense, just get yourself into a state of calm to where you're just prepared to hear whatever the information is and then do any divination you might do today. And then, because just the general rudeness that I witness on social media has been irritating me lately, read a bit from an etiquette book. They exist for a reason, and I think a lot of the destruction of our society really comes from people not having a common language of etiquette. So that's something that as individuals we can start gradually bringing back, because we need a language of common behaviors just as much as we need a common language of words and what that language consists of, just as vital to us. And then lastly for today, the journal prompt, what is your takeaway from the month of July? It feels like we've lived a lot of life in the space of 31 days. Uh, so much going on. And if you're reeling, I don't blame you. There's many a time where my brain is just, that will do for the present. Not sure how much I can absorb and really digest, just because so much has been happening so quickly and so virulently. So what has been your experience with this month? Where is that taking you? Getting some of those thoughts and feelings onto paper will probably do you a bit of good. And that really does it for today for the daily forecast. Of course, tomorrow we will have another daily forecast. We will be beginning the month of August. We will be celebrating Lunasa, so do come back for that, and you'll see a few little changes here and there to the daily forecast. So I hope you enjoy those. Let's see. Arizona Raven is advising Peter to stay aware and be prepared. Head on a swivel. Citrine, yeah, absolutely. Citrine is wonderful for that. And then he says there's always something to learn, even from the trolls on YouTube. Yes, something to learn, but definitely not behavior to emulate, which is more so the point I was getting at for the forecast. Now, I think I'll bring this to a close. Give me about 5-10 minutes, and then I will be doing a live stream for the Havamal, and I hope to see some of you there. But for now, see you in a bit.